Tonight, the U.S. military says it stopped Iranian forces from seizing 2 commercial tankers near the Strait of Hormuz just hours apart, even accusing Iran of opening fire on one of the vessels. The Pentagon releasing video of one of the encounters, saying it shows an Iranian military ship approaching the oil tanker Richmond Voyager, the Bahamian registered tanker sending out a distress call. As a nearby U.S. destroyer responded, the Navy says the Iranians shot at Richmond Voyager, bullets ricocheting, flashing in the sky above the tanker. The Iranian vessel departing when the American destroyer approached. The Pentagon releasing images showing damage to the tanker and ammunition cases recovered from the vessel, saying in a statement that the Iranian personnel fired multiple long bursts with both small arms and crew-served weapons, and that several rounds hit the ship's hull near crew living spaces.
And Lindsay, tonight the U.S. military says no one was hurt in either incident and that both of these tankers went on their way. And tonight, Iranian officials are denying they made any attempts to seize those tankers.
3 Russian fighter jets intercepted 3 U.S. Air Force drones in Syria. U.S. Central Command released a video of the incident which shows the jets releasing parachute flares in front of the drones, ostensibly to block their view. Now, both the U.S. and Russia are operating in Syria. The U.S. as part of the anti-Islamic State coalition and Russia in support of the Syrian president, Bashar al-Assad. As per the U.S. military, Russian warplanes harassed 3 American drones over Syria. Washington says the drones were taking part in a mission against the Islamic State terror group. The Russian jets dropped parachute flares in front of the U.S. drones while they were on the mission, forcing them to take evasive action. Now, one Russian pilot turned on the fighter plane's afterburner, and he did it right in front of the MQ-9 Reaper drone, reducing the operator's ability to safely operate the UAV. U.S. commander said the events represent another example of unprofessional and unsafe actions by Russian air forces which are operating in Syria.
Lower your heels down to the ground.
The recruits are up before dawn at Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Over the top of the elbow and kind of pull with the right arm.
But this is not your father's boot camp. Instructors are acting more like personal trainers than drill sergeants.
Put it in that meaty portion, all right?
And Staff Sergeant Ben Thomas says that's on purpose.
Yes, we are treating them a little differently. We also want to instill some of the discipline in them by not necessarily by yelling or screaming at them. Ready, stretch!
This is prep camp for young men and women who want to join the Army but can't meet the body fat limits. They came to Fort Jackson to lose weight and qualify for the real boot camp.
It's not the break them down and build them back up approach.
Lieutenant Colonel Dan Hayes is in charge.
We're meeting them halfway to help them achieve the standard, to give them the opportunity to serve alongside of us.
Someday we all alone.
The Army started the boot camp last fall because of a drastic 25% shortage in recruits, due in part to the fact that most young people do not meet the basic physical and mental qualifications to serve.
We got 17 and 2 over 7.
At Fort Jackson, there are also classes for those who did poorly on the written exam. So far, 7,600 have graduated from prep camp to boot camp. That alone won't solve the Army's recruiting problem, but for these young men and women, it's a chance to serve.
The BRICS bloc is inundated with applications. The group of 5 major emerging economies, Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, has attracted some 20 other countries to join. After Argentina, Iran and Algeria applied last year, Egypt, Ethiopia and Bangladesh submitted their applications weeks ago, and Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates and Nigeria and more are queuing up. Anil Suklal, ambassador to the group from South Africa, which hosts this year's BRICS presidency, said in April that 13 countries have formally asked to join and another 6 have asked informally. We're getting applications to join every day. Meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron has expressed the wish to be the first Western leader to be invited to a BRICS summit. So what's driving these countries to join the platform? What difference will it make for the group and these countries? And how will it impact the world as BRICS countries are set to contribute more to the global economy than the G7?
Ukrainians are preparing for a frightening scenario, a nuclear disaster. Training exercises were held in several cities to help agencies and people respond to the possibility of a radioactive event. Of particular concern is the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. The plant in southeastern Ukraine is under Russian control. There are fears of a radiation leak from it, either inadvertent or intentional. In the training drills, emergency service workers in protective suits practice radiation testing, as well as cleaning radioactive particles off surfaces. They reviewed procedures for first aid for people affected by radiation, and they drilled on how to conduct a mass evacuation. The radiation training is just one of the many unusual steps people in Ukraine have had to take since Russia launched its invasion in February of 2022.